JUnit 4 and JUnit 5 have different annotations when it comes to writing our test scripts. We will walk step by step through those annotations. By the end of this session, you will learn the difference between JUnit 5 and JUnit 4 annotations. After the annotations, we will add the JUnit 5 dependency to the 𝒆𝒙 file, followed by writing some test scripts using JUnit 5. Then we are going to review and write some assertions. With assertions, we can verify if our test passes or if our test fails. In the previous session, we executed JUnit 4 with a JUnit 5 dependency. In this session, I will demonstrate how to convert a test script from JUnit 4 to JUnit 5. Let's start by looking at the JUnit annotations. JUnit 4 has already been covered, so we see there are 5 descriptions: before class, after class, before, after, and test. The same descriptions are available for JUnit 5. However, the annotations are different except for the test annotation. The test annotation remains the same because it declares a test method. That's how we test our application. All other annotations have been updated in JUnit 5. Before class has been replaced with before all. After class replaced with after all. Before replaced with before each. And after replaced with after each. Before all executes before all test methods. After all executes after all test methods. Before each execute before each test method that is indicated by the test annotation. After each executes after each test method. The test method is represented by the test annotation. All annotations that begin with before or after are called configuration annotations. When I think of configuration annotations, they reminded me of preconditions and postconditions. Preconditions have the before prefix. It is an action that comes before the test, maybe some kind of setup. Postconditions have the after prefix because it is an action that happens after the test, like closing the browser. The test annotation is a condition that automates our application and should have a verification step to determine if our test passes or if our test fails. At this point, we can add the JUnit 5 dependency to our 𝒆𝒙 file. Let's go to the IDE, which is IntelliJ. I will show you 2 ways for adding a dependency. First is a shortcut. For the shortcut, I'm going to press Alt and the Insert key. After pressing the Insert key, it comes up with this Generate dialog box. Then we select Dependency. We're going to type JUnit -Jupyter -API. And we see JUnit Jupyter API. The version is 5.10.0. Now, let me show the second way. The second way is by going to mbnrepository.com for that dependency. We're going to search for that dependency by typing JUnit 5. We see JUnit Jupyter API. And the most recent version is 5.10.1 with the date of November 5th. However, let's pick version 5.10.0. Copy the dependency. And we're going to paste the dependency in the pom.xml file. We also need to load the Maven changes. Now it's loading the Maven changes. While the Maven changes are loading, let's go ahead and write our test script using JUnit 5. We're going to start by going to the AUT, the application under test. And the application under test will be this radio button demo page from Lambda test. For the first test, our automation test script will click the female radio button, then click the get value button. Do you see this message that says radio button female is checked? We're going to verify this message. For the second test, notice how this disable radio button section has 3 radio buttons, but one of them is disabled. We will verify if this label contains disabled. Copy this URL, and now let's go back to the IDE and create a JUnit 5 test package by right-clicking Java under the test directory. New Java package is what we need. And the package name will be JUnit 5 test. Now we create a class by going to the package, right-clicking new Java class. The class will be named radio button demo test. And I'm going to make some room. Then start by writing web driver. At this point, I'm going to import web driver. Let's write the first annotation, and that is before all. The code inside this annotation will execute before all test methods. So we write public static void. The method name will be before all. Print statement. The print statement would describe this action, which is execute one time before all test methods. Okay, this annotation also executes one time before the repeated test annotation and the test factory annotation in the current class. Let me show you right quick those annotations. If I go to the project, then go to external libraries, scroll down until we see the JUnit 5 Jupyter API package. In this package, we have the API package. In the API package, we see some of those annotations we covered already, starting with after all, after each. The before all annotation and before each annotation. The before all annotation executes once before the repeated test annotation, and test factory. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back to the next annotation. And the next annotation is before each. And I'm going to close some of these other tabs, right click these other classes. And we're going to write the next annotation before each. Public void. The method name will be before each to represent the annotation. The print statement will describe the purpose of the annotation, and the purpose is to execute before each test method. Create an instance by writing driver equals. Let's use Edge driver because normally we always use Chrome driver, but for this session, let's use Edge driver. And we have to import Edge driver. After importing Edge driver, let's go ahead and maximize the browser by writing driver.manage. The window maximize. Then we're going to load the AUT by writing driver.get and paste in the URL. Since we load the application with before each annotation, that means the page will load before both test methods. Now we write the code for our test method by writing public void. The name will be test selected radio button message. That's the first test. Now for this here, let's write first test method. Let's also go back to the application and inspect the first element we need. And the first element we need is the female radio button. We see the tag name is input and the value is female. Okay, so let's test and make sure we can find the element. Let's test it by locating that element in the DOM by writing 2/ input square brackets at value equals female. Notice it shows 1 of 2. Let's make it 1 of 1 by making it unique by including the name attribute. The name is opt radio. So we're going to continue with this XPath by writing at name equals 2 single quotes. Within those quotes, let's write the value of opt radio. Bingo. Now it shows 1 of 1. Copy this value. Then go back to IntelliJ. In IntelliJ, we have found the element using XPath. Therefore, we write driver.findElement by XPath. And we're going to paste that value. Bingo. And for radio buttons, the action we do to perform is click. That's how we click the radio button. That's the first step. Now we click the button for the second step. Inspect the button of get value. And we see the tag name is button and it has an ID value of button check. We test this by writing a hashtag, which is a shortcut for the ID attribute. Then the value, button check, and we see it shows 1 of 1. In the IDE, we're going to find it by writing driver.findElement by ID, and that value is button check with an action of .click. For the second test method, we write the test annotation again with a method signature of public void test disabled radio button. Okay. The print statement will describe what method we're in, and that's the second test method. We use the after each annotation to perform an action after each test method by writing public void, and the method name will reflect the annotation of after each. Print statement to describe the purpose. Execute after each test method. Insert a new line. Now, the action we're going to perform using Selenium is driver.quit. So the browser closes after each test. The last annotation for JUnit 5 is after all. This annotation will execute one time after all test methods: public, static, void, after all. Print statement. Execute one time after all test methods. Now, so for the second test, we will check if the label contains the word disabled. Inspect the label, and we see the tag name is labeled. To find this element, we're going to write 2 forward slashes, label. Let's put in the text of the label. Text equals 2 single quotes, disabled radio button. Now, something is not right because it should have found this element. And let me put the parentheses. Bingo. Now we have found the element, this disabled radio button label. I'm going to copy this value. And after copying this value, let's go back to IntelliJ. And in the disabled radio button test, I'm going to write driver.find element. And we found the element using XPath, by.xpath. Paste in the value. The plan is to get the text, so we use the .getText method from Selenium. We're also going to assign the value to a string called actual label. Bingo. At this point, let's verify our code executes without any errors. I will also comment out driver.quit in the after each annotation. The purpose of commenting out driver.quit is because I want you to see how the application loads each time by using the driver.get command from Selenium in the before each annotation in the JUnit 5. So it's going to load at least 2 times when I run. Let's verify that 2 browser icons show up in the taskbar. Bingo. We see 2 browser icons, Edge browser icons in the taskbar. The application was loaded before each test method. Let's check the console and see what it shows. The console, it shows the print messages. Execute one time before all test methods. That's the method from the before all annotation. Next is execute before each test method. That's when we load the application, followed by first test method. Yes. Then we see execute after each test method. That same before each annotation shows the next print statement. Execute before each test method. Then we see second test method. Bingo. Execute after each test method is the last one for the after each annotation. The last print statement shows executes one time after all test methods. In reality, we have automated 2 test scripts, but have not verified neither test script. We verify the test scripts with assertions. Let's review. Assertions, then write some JUnit 5 assertions. Here's a few assertions. Assert true verifies a condition is true. Assert false is the opposite. It verifies a condition is false. Assert same verifies 2 objects referring to the same object. JUnit 5 also offers assert not same. Assert not same verifies the 2 objects do not refer to the same object. Assert not null verifies an object is not null. Last but not least is assert equals. It verifies the actual and expected results are equal to each other. If you want more information about the assertions, you can go to the JUnit 5 assertions page. Now, you get to this page by typing JUnit 5 class assertions in the search browser. If I go down the page, you see there are many overloaded assertions on this page. If I just continue scrolling, you see the assertions, and it also describes what the assertions do. Like for here, assert equals, it shows asserts that expected and actual are equal. Let me show you the syntax for JUnit 4 and JUnit 5. To verify our tests in JUnit 4, we use methods from the assert class. However, JUnit 5 use methods from the assertions class. That's one key difference between JUnit 4 and JUnit 5. The syntax is also different. For this assert equals method, JUnit 4 has assert equals followed by the string message, expected result, then actual result. JUnit 5 has the assertions class assert equals. The method has the same type of behavior, which verifies if the expected and actual results are equal. We see the parameters are different because JUnit 5 begins with the expected result, followed by actual result. Then the string message is the last parameter. Recall from the previous session, messages only show up if the verification step fails. Let me show you what happens when the verification step fails. We're going to the browser right quick. And when a test fails, you will see. So if I scroll up, I'm going to inspect this message. We see it has a P tag name. However, we will find this element by locating the get value button, then the message. Let's find the get value button by typing 2 forward slashes, the tag name, which is button, 2 square brackets at ID, and the ID value was button check, bingo. Now, in the DOM, look how button and P are siblings. By them being siblings, we are going to find the P tag by writing 1 forward slash following, because it follows the button, hyphen, sibling, 2 colons, then P, bingo. Now we have found the P tag. Copy. In the IDE, I'm going to write, for the second test, I'm going to write driver.findElement by XPath. and I'm going to paste in that value. Now, we're going to get the text. Dot get text. And let me do this over right quick. Get text. And I'm going to bring this back a little bit more so we can see it clearly and add the colon at the end. Now that we got the Selenium command, I'm going to assign it to string actual message. Now, to demonstrate what happens when the test fails, I'm going to write string expected message. And I'm going to copy that value from the DOM, but I'm going to change the value where it's not all the way correct. Copy the value, go back to IntelliJ, and type in the value. That's the correct message, but we want to see what happens when the verification step fails. So I'm going to capitalize each word. Button to capital B, is to capital I, and checked to capital C. Now, it will fail because these here are capitalized, because the assertions are case sensitive. We write for the assertion, assertions dot assert equals expected message, actual message, then the message. The message will say actual and expected messages do not match. All right, cool. There's another way to write our assertion methods. And let me show you that way right quick. For the assertion method, I'm going to put, I apologize, this here, oh, I put this in the wrong place. This is for the first test. For the second test, we're going to verify the label contains disabled, but we will not write the assertion class. Start with the name. The name is assert true. So notice the first test method had assertions, which is the class. The second, we're not going to write assertions. We're going to start with the name assert true. Assert true, actual label contains disabled, comma, now we write the message. The message is, let's put actual label does not contain disabled. Cool. Do you see how assert true is read? I need to import the code as static. So at the top, we're going to write import static org dot JUnit dot Jupyter dot API assertions dot. Now you see how we see the individual methods: assert true, we see assert all, we see assert arrays, we see assert equals. Those are the individual methods. However, we want to import all of the methods, so we're going to write asterisk, then the semicolon. Go back down to assert true, and we no longer see it written in red. Let's remove this first comment right quick. And I'm going to run. Now, one test should pass and one test should fail. And the one that failed, we're going to see the message. For the one that passed, we will not see the message. Okay, so test selected radio button failed, and test disabled radio button pass. If we look at the console and scroll down, we see the message says actual and expected messages do not match. Then it shows why it failed. JUnit 5 has its click to see difference. And for the click to see difference, the ones that are capitalized for each word are not correct. So we see how button is highlighted because that shows the difference. Button on this side is capital and it is expected. For the actual, button is lowercase. The same for is and checked. They are highlighted because that shows the difference. Now, that's it for assertions. Let's recap. With me demonstrating how to convert a JUnit 4 test to JUnit 5, I will show you two ways. Let's go back to the IDE. In the IDE, we noticed in the last session, in the previous session, we created a JUnit 4 test script. I'm going to copy that JUnit 4 test class and paste it in the same package. However, I'm going to rename it to, how about convert JUnit 4 to JUnit 5 per test. And since I'm going to show you two ways, I'm going to put _1. Bingo. Also added to Git. Now, in the pom.xml file, we added the JUnit vintage engine. So all JUnit 4 test scripts can be executed with JUnit 5. At the beginning of this session, we added the JUnit 5 dependency, JUnit Jupyter API. Therefore, in the convert to JUnit 4 to JUnit 5 class, let's import the JUnit 5 Jupyter class. Go to the top, and I'm going to import it by writing imports org.junit.jupyter.api. And I'm going to add the asterisk with the semicolon. The asterisk is for all configuration annotations, all test annotations, and all assertions. We no longer need the JUnit package since we're converting from 4 to 5. I can delete, but I'm going to just comment out the package. So the annotations are red and the assertions will be red. We see before class, before, we see the assert, after, and after class, they're red. Let's go ahead and take care of those. So for the first annotation, before class, it is a JUnit 4 annotation that is executed before each class. For the update, we're going to change before class to before all for JUnit 5. And we see it is no longer red. The next annotation is before, which executes before each test method. The annotation in JUnit 5 is called before each. Our test annotation remains the same. There is no update to the test annotation. However, the verification will change from assert to assertions. Recall the syntax is different from JUnit 4 and JUnit 5. We're going to swap the message. So it's not going to be the first parameter for JUnit 5. It's going to be the last parameter. Therefore, let's put the message at the end. Bingo. I'm going to also just make some room by bringing this, by bringing this over some. No, what, I'm gonna keep it like that. Now, we swap the messages. Next is the annotation after. It executes after each test method. So we change it to after each. And the last annotation is after class. It updates from after class to after all. And we know that is to execute after each class. That's how we manually convert from JUnit 4 to JUnit 5. To automatically convert our test scripts is the next part I want to show you. We can do Control-Shift-A, and we see it bring up actions. If you have Windows, there's Control-Shift-A. For Mac, you click the Command up key, then A. In this dialog, for migrate, we select JUnit 4 to 5. However, there is one issue with this migration map. The issue is, notice the message says this map is for transferring the JUnit 4 test annotations to the new Jupyter ones. May result in red code. Assertions won't be migrated. In other words, this process works for the annotations, but does not work for the assertions. Therefore, let me show you another way that will convert the annotations and assertions. I'm going to copy one more time the JUnit 4 test class, paste it, and I'm going to change the name to convert JUnit 4 to JUnit 5 test _2, so you can know the difference between 1 and 2. Now that we have copied, we can go to File, Settings. I'm already at Inspections and at the place we need. But if you're not at that location, you type in Inspections. And once you type Inspections, you go to this next box and type in JUnit. Now, notice that we see this here part that says JUnit 4 can be JUnit 5. You want to make sure that checkbox is selected. When you select it, you click Apply and OK. Now, the next step that you want to do to convert it automatically is to migrate. You can do it two ways. You can place the cursor in front of the class name. And once you do that, for Mac users, select the Option key, then back arrow. For Windows, you click Control-Alt. And once you click Control-Alt, let me do that one more time. Control-Alt, and that will let you migrate. The other way is to just hover, and you will see Migrate to JUnit 5. They both perform the same type of behavior. When you come to Migrate 5, it shows the refactoring preview window. We see the annotations, and we see the unclassified dropdown. Unclassified are the assertions classes. This window will only show what will be updated. That's what it shows, what will be updated. For annotations, when I click that, we see before class, before method, and the first test method. Although the test method, the test annotation has the same name in JUnit 4 and 5, the package is different. We also see after method and after class, and that also the second test method. Now, unclassified only shows assert equals. That's okay, because that's all we use for this project, but it'll show any kind of assertion that you have. The next step is to click Do Refactor, and that performs the magic of converting from 4 to 5. Now, to verify, I'm gonna show you what happens when you wanna see the history. To verify the changes that it updated, and we see that it did, we go to File, Local History, then Show History. We see at the top, the import statement shows Jupyter. On this side, you see it shows current Jupyter. Before class, updated to before all. The before annotation updated to before each. Notice the verification updated from assert to assertions. Even the message updated, because over here is the first parameter. But on the other side, it's the last parameter. Bingo. Let's also look at the other annotations. After annotation updated to after each, and after class updated to after all. That's it for writing JUnit 5 test script. Next, we will run JUnit 5 in Jupyter. If you would like to learn more, then make sure to follow the blogs at https://www.lambdatest.com/blog and community.lambdatest.com. In addition to the blogs, you can earn a certification at www.lambdatest.com/certifications. Get educated, get recognized.